I've spent 1,000 hours or more playing Apex Legends in my entire life, over 2 years of experience. And in this video, I'm going to teach it to you all, or at least the biggest points, in under 10 minutes. Now, if I were you, I would pay attention and stay around, because if I could save myself even half that, even 450 hours, 200 hours, 50 hours, I would definitely say 9 minutes is worth that trade. So make sure to hang out and let me know what you guys think. We're going to get into it quick, and I don't want to keep any of you waiting anymore. Let's start the video. The more you put in, the more you get out. That's not just in gaming, that's in life. But in Apex specifically, this is a game you have to put effort in. All my Nintendo Switch players, all my new players coming back, maybe people getting revitalized by the audience, the big Steam numbers, the growing platforms, the exposure, the way Apex keeps getting better with age. It's like a fine wine. I understand you want to jump in, but you're going to get fragged out. And you're going to realize that, you know what? The more I play this game, the more I'm actually going to develop. And that is one thing that you just cannot escape. Apex is not a game of quick tips and tricks to suddenly become this guru at fighting. You have to have experiences, very much in life, to get what you want and know the way to travel down these roads, which sometimes have very small paths to take before you fall off. So just remember that everything we're talking about here is to get you better and along that road. But without you putting in any effort, I've realized that there's no way I can come back after a month break or a 2-month break and have the experience or the success that I want. And I just have to accept that as fact. The more I play, though, after a few days of warming up, I start making plays like this, and it comes back to me. And that's what you're going to see as you play Apex. The more you put in, the more you get out. Whether it's a relationship, it's school, it's life, it's a business. In Apex, it's the same thing. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned after 1,000 hours. Number 2, the meta matters. And if you ignore it, you may lose more than you'd like. I know a lot of you guys love Mirage. You love, Octane. You love Bangalore. Whatever you love, that's great. You might love the Spitfire. You might love the Alternator. Shoot, every weapon can work. But if you ignore the meta, you may find yourself on the bad end of trades more often. And you may be wondering, why am I not succeeding today? People ignore the fact that at this moment, Gibraltar, Wraith, Crypto, Bloodhound are high-level legends that are doing well competitively. But even at your level, you may find legends succeeding like Horizon, who is a very high win rate champion across the board for Apex Legends. And if you look at it and you start playing legends like Mirage all the time, wondering why you're losing, or maybe Lifeline falls out of the meta and isn't really priority, and you're wondering why you're losing these gunfights, or maybe Pathfinder, hey, this is pre-buff, but maybe after the buff, Pathfinder isn't a great spot. But before then, you were wondering, why is Pathfinder not winning as many gunfights as I need to? Why is my Spitfire, or why is my Alternator not doing what I hope it does? It's because the meta right now might not be that. And the more you resist it, the more you will lose and find that those things don't really work for you. The more you accept it, the more you'll have an easier time working on the things that matter for you to improve. The R301, the Flatline, these weapons, the Scouts, the Charge Rifle, the Mastiff. We'll see what happens after the nerf. They're all meta weapons, and all these legends I just mentioned are meta legends right now. And if you play them, you'll have an easier time focusing on the stuff that you want to do to improve, like aiming, like moving, like actually developing skills. And you don't have to try to climb an uphill battle. That's why I teach people the most. Don't try to climb an uphill battle if you don't have to. And, if you want to, just remember, that's what you're choosing. It may not be the easiest way for you to get wins. All right, a master plan. Let's talk about this. Will beat master aim. Your brain can get you out of so many situations that your aim cannot. Remember, Apex Legends feels like a game that's about gunplay, but right now, a lot of people are calling it ability legends. And when you have an ability meta, it means that your decision-making and the choice of when to use these abilities, whether it is a Bloodhound scan, whether it is a Gibraltar dome shield, whether it's a defensive bombardment in the final circle, maybe it's Horizon, going up into the air, taking a vantage point to see where enemies are. The more you have control over your abilities, deciding your facts and your fate, then you end up being actually a better player when you make better decisions. So your aim can actually be something that comes on the backside. I've had so many fights that I won. You saw my movement there in the first clip. I didn't have to aim. I was behind the Bangalore because of my knowledge of her footsteps, the awareness of where people were going in that fight, and the experience I had to know, okay, I'll probably show up behind this character as she's pushing, and that can take away the ability to aim. So remember, your brain can often get you out of situations. Don't just think you have to be the greatest aimer. But on the duality flip side of it, your plans can't save you when you have to aim. Sometimes you do have to aim, which is why tip number 1, the more you put in, the more you get out. The more you practice your aim, the more you work on these weapons. I've told people who are beginners coming in, work on the Wingman, work on the Scout. The R301's pretty easy to pick up. Work on your R99, work on your Volt. Work on these weapons. The flatline, sometimes a little easier for pros and advanced players, not as easy for beginners. These weapons right here could save you many, many times, but you have to put effort into them. And sometimes you do get in situations where you've done all the planning, you've done all that. My campers, you know what I'm talking about. My snipers, you know what I'm talking about. You get to top 3, but then what? You got to face the team that's got 12 kills and a wingman and R99 in front of you. And that sniper stops working. So you have to find ways that you can utilize aim, but you got to get there too. So it's the duality. Yes, your brain can get you out of all these situations, but you have to be able to aim as well. Let's talk about the next step because this is a big one that I learned. Everything in life, someone else learned. Let that sink in for a second. Everything in life, someone else learned. And if you believe that, then you believe that there's something that if you want to get good at it, all you have to do is learn it. See, we kind of put ourselves in this pecking order of I'm good, he's better, he's worse, she's just as good, versus thinking about this is how I am now. What if the greatest philosophers, the greatest scientists, the greatest mathematicians, all of them just stopped and didn't even learn algebra? They stopped learning calculus. What about the greatest writers? They stopped figuring out how to tell greater stories and put together these books that matter and change our childhood and our lives and kind of direct the ideas of where the future innovations are going. What if people stopped and decided that where I'm at now or where I started is where I am? What you learn defines who you are. And so if you continue down this path of trying to get better, you will not only in life, in Apex for sure, become a better and better player. It is possible for you to be a pro. Now what you're going to run up against as you start learning those things, is it worth your time? And that's something you'll have to decide yourself. It may take me 20 minutes to learn it. It may take you an hour. Is it going to be worth it for you to spend that hour? If it is, know you could still do it. Just because it took me 20 minutes doesn't mean your hour won't get you the same result. A lot of people have different times, different paths to walk. Don't judge that. Just be aware of it. And so if you want to get better at hitting your R99 shots, you want to master the wingman, you can do it. These players didn't show up being great at the wingman. They had to practice it and learn it themselves, all right? That should hopefully help you on your journey as you start to figure things out. Not just in Apex, like I said, but in life. And it's the relativity principle as well. Relative to you. Here's a big thing to say. I want you guys to give yourself a real reference point in Apex Legends. Now, a lot of people look at pros, and they say, wow, that guy's amazing. But what do you do when you look at the people who aren't as good as you? You know, the relativity principle, I grew up in my life in a really wealthy neighborhood. I got a Scion XB for my first car, and I had to give it back to my parents because we didn't have enough money to have a car. They lost theirs, actually. I ended up having to give back the car I got for my 17th birthday when I got my driver's license. And my friends were riding around in BMWs and Audis, and they had multiple. They had Range Rovers. Most of my friends had Range Rovers. But you know what? The idea is that I know there's a lot of people out there who would be lucky to have a car. And there's a lot of people who still want a car right now. And so we look at the Range Rovers, we look at the big Twitch streamers, we see that, and we say, I want to be that, but we don't look at the people who are below us trying to get to where we are. And if you realize that, then you can make actual steps to improve without judging where you're at every moment. Because I'm telling you one thing, guys, it's impossible to move forward in your life if you keep judging where you are. You got to accept where you are, and then you can move forward. This is a big tip. This is one of the most things that you can apply to life outside of Apex Legends. One of the things I learned, I'm pissed that I'm not as good. I cast these games professionally, and I want you guys to get those reference points. Watch the pros. Watch me cast these games. But also, be aware that there are people who aren't doing what you're doing, and appreciate that about yourself. I did this in a TikTok the other day, tiktok.com/Raynday Gaming, if you guys want to follow me on there. Did you know that if you have 6 viewers on Twitch, you're in the top 6.7% of all people on Twitch? Relativity, guys. You may think you're not doing great when you look at Shroud's 30,000, but in terms of the world, you are. And the last one, the final one that I think is potentially more important to understand as you're in your process of developing, you will deserve to win and still lose. You're going to watch this game here and you see how well I've been playing. I've been carrying my squad. But in Apex Legends, sometimes you meet insurmountable odds. The percentage of you outplaying a situation is nigh impossible. And you have to understand that sometimes you can play the best game in your life, do everything right, and still lose. That's just life. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Get yourself back up. Follow these rules, and you will get to where you want to be eventually. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Never give up. Never stop gaming. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time.